All right, everyone, welcome into the last edition of the regular season of the Daily Reflector's Fearless Football Forecast. Ronnie Woodward here with me, Jordan Anders. We're out here at South Central with the football field and a little bit of construction going on up there behind us. On today's
game Friday.
Yeah, definitely. And
sure.
That's why while we're out here, Ronnie, we're wrapping up the regular season. It's flown by.
Yeah,
and going by crazy fast. And
we started here this season.
We did, yeah. We wrapped up the first.
Not really ending, but
ending the regular season, of bringing it full circle, because this field behind us on Friday night is going to have the biggest game of the year by far. I mean, what's on the line Friday night is going to be really fun, and it's going to be an interesting matchup, Ronnie. And we've got that. We've got another all-county matchup, and then we got two other games. We're going to save this one that's going to happen here for last, and break that one down last. So we'll burn through the first three that we have this week. Got one county team on the road out of the county, and we'll start there with a Rose team that I saw last Friday night, and I'm still trying to figure out how they didn't beat Eastern Wayne. Eastern Wayne committed over 20 penalties, was just an absolute ridiculous flag fest, and Rose was in position, had everything lined up for them. They turned the ball over while they're trying to just run out the clock. And like I talked about with Coach Dave Witecki afterwards, I've never seen a sequence of events more perfectly sum up a season than that one did.
Yep.
Where the Rampants, they had a false start that set them behind, a negative play in the run game, and then the turnover and give up the score. It kind of encapsulated the struggles that Rose has had this year, just kind of not really able to get out of its own way a lot of the time. So they're on the road wrapping up in a game that really doesn't mean a whole lot for them in terms of the playoffs, because they're going to be at home once next week, or once this week is over. At a New Bern team that still has a lot to play for in terms of playoff seeding. They're right there hovering around the 500 mark. So this is going to be a tough one, and after seeing the way that those kids reacted Friday night, man, that's really tough. It's tough enough to get these kids to get players to be focused on a game that doesn't really mean a whole lot when you're not going to the playoffs. But especially coming off the kind of loss that they had Friday night, I can only imagine this is going to be a really tough week, and I'm sure they'll go on the road and give it what they got. But I don't know that they have enough to go beat this New Bern team. So I think the season ends on a down note for the Rampants, and I'm going to pick New Bern here.
Okay. It is a rivalry game. They're out of county, but these teams have a long history as far as a rival. Not as big as Rose Conley, but I was prepared, honestly, to pick New Bern last week to win this game, regardless of what Rose did. The fact that the things you hit on, Rose lost last week, unless they have the classic kind of football bounce back situation and go play really well, just to go really play well, and play loose or whatever. If you lose the Eastern Wayne, you're losing those Wayne County teams. I just don't think that's a good sign for the Pitt County teams in this league. So, like I said, I was prepared to take New Bern regardless, so I'm taking the Bears in that one. Next game here, we have Green Central at Ayden-Grifton. A good matchup, and as I'm noticing here, both teams, I love it when this happens. Both teams are 6-4 overall. Both teams 3-2 in the Eastern Carolina Conference, the 2A Eastern Carolina Conference. So obviously not a conference championship game, because West Craven wrapped that up last week by beating Ayden-Grifton. But a big game, I guess, probably for second, third, right there.
For the second spot in the conference, which brings the playoff playoff spot with it.
So this is huge, I mean, Ayden-Grifton's at home. Green Central, I saw them once earlier this year. It usually has a lot of speed, has some playmakers, can throw it around a little bit. Obviously, we know what Ayden-Grifton does. We talk about it all the time. They're more power running type of attack. So that's a good matchup to watch in that one as far as the speed, maybe some of the receivers, playmakers. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm totally off here, Green Central's a team that does throw it a lot. So a different style, and I mean, I don't know who to pick in this one, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. Ayden-Grifton, as you noted here accurately, has won 6 of the last 7 in this matchup. And we've talked about it this year. Although Ayden-Grifton didn't fare well last week, I mean, I think West Craven's probably kind of the class of that league.
Definitely. Still haven't lost a game in that league this year.
Yeah, exactly. And Ayden-Grifton hung with them, to some extent for a little bit. West Craven pulled away, as we kind of thought, late. I'll take the Chargers to win. Kind of like some of my picks last week, I'm not exactly confident or 100% confident in it, but I like Ayden-Grifton to bounce back. If they lost 2 in a row now here, 2 of the last 3,
they've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah. So I think they they go on the last week of the regular season, finish strong. I'll take the Chargers, but that's a really good close game. I mean, all 4 of these games really are good, which obviously we're leading up to the big one. But I'll take Aiden Grifton by just a little bit.
Right, yeah, and they lost 2 in a row, both on the road and both in games where they went and had kind of uncharacteristic, very non-Aiden Grifton-like performances with some turnover issues and just not really executing. But like you said, even so, kind of struggling to get out of their own way against West Craven. They only lost 14-0. They were in that game until the end. They come back home, like I said, with a chance to win and lock up that second spot.
It's huge,
and get into the playoffs. So I think this is a situation where the Chargers at home on senior night need some confidence, because I think they'll pull out this win. I think they'll play well and kind of bounce back in order to get a little bit of momentum going headed into the postseason, to wrap up the regular season on a high note. One team that would kill to wrap up the regular season on a high note is North Pitt.
Yep.
And this gets us into our two all-county matchups this week. North Pitt at Farmville Central, a matchup of teams that kind of in different places have a lot to play for. North Pitt just trying desperately to get some momentum going into the off season for next year. They've only won 1 game this year. They've lost 9 straight. Farmville Central still got a lot to play for. In the fact that they're like we talked about with New Bern earlier, kind of being in that right there around 500. They're I believe 4-6. Can get to 5-6 and drop a game for playoff seeding. So that will put them in good shape to still make the postseason, even though they're kind of hovering right there around the middle of that league. The Jaguars have they struggled on Friday night. They got ahead, and then Beddingfield, with kind of its athleticism and speed, kind of ran away from them late. Because as we talked about, they're just struggling to put bodies on the field at this point.
Yep.
So North Pitt goes in there against a Farmville team that might be a little vulnerable. But needs, has the mindset that they need to win in order to kind of solidify their playoff hopes. I think this could be close. I think North Pitt, this might be their best shot at a win in the conference, although they're now at the end of it and haven't won one yet. So
only shot.
I think the Panthers go on the road and play well and keep it close. But I think Farmville Central being at home and needing that win, just kind of that they'll play with that sort of backs against the wall mentality to try to win their way into the playoffs, and I think they'll do that.
Okay. I'm tempted to pick the Panthers, not gonna lie, just to kind of do it. They started the season with a win, maybe they end it.
Can kind of bookend it with a win, yeah.
But as you wrote in your notebook for Tuesday's paper, my man Scott Gardner, I think, is lowballing it a little bit. I think he's playing up the whole injuries. The quote about we don't know if we're gonna field a team. We have a bunch of JV players. I think he's hedging his bet a little bit, because I don't think North Pitt is exactly healthy or super talented or deep either, So if both teams are kind of an abbreviation of themselves, or, at this point in the season are beat up and struggling, I just think the Jaguars have more top-end talent. They have a good receiver. They obviously have some running backs usually. So I'm with you. I think North Pitt certainly could play well, certainly could lead at some point, maybe pull an upset. But at home, a good game. This is always a fun game to cover every year, regardless of the situation. I'll take the Jaguars as well.
That's pretty solid.
Last game, I'll throw this one back to you as the preps guy, just because I feel obligated to do it. DH Conley at South Central. Go for it, and then I'll make the pick.
This one's going to be fun, and I'm going to be here Friday night, and I'm going to have 2 pens and probably an extra notebook with me to try to keep track. The nerd pen, the different colors. The different colors. Well, I was out here earlier in the week, and I asked Andy too if that scoreboard over there has enough lights on it to keep up with the points that they could potentially score, and he kind of laughed at me and said he wasn't sure. So we'll see. This game could be super explosive. I saw Conley and Rose break the state record last year for points scored in a game. Not going to guarantee that that's going to happen, but I am holding it as a very strong possibility that there could be a ton of points scored here. But what's going to be interesting, it's going to be really fun to watch because these offenses are kind of different in how good they are, because you and I have both seen South Central a handful of times this year. The speed kills, man. The speed is they are so fast and so athletic. You look at Conley and their kind of big names on offense, a truck like Holton Ehlers, a kid like CJ Johnson, who is just, CJ dominates because of how big he is, in addition to his speed. And that's something that South Central doesn't really have. So you've got 2 really explosive offenses that are kind of explosive because of different strengths that they have. So it's gonna be interesting to see which defense is able to key in, whether Conley's offense can kind of slow whether Conley's defense rather can slow South Central down, or whether South Central's defense can man up and kind of front with the Conley offense and how big and strong they are. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know which defense is going to be able to do it.
I agree.
I do like the fact that, Conley has to come here on the road in what's going to be a crazy fun environment. This is a South Central team that hasn't really been in this scenario before, whereas Conley has won at least a share of the last 2 conference titles. But I will say this about South Central. Every year that they have, or every time this year that they've had an opportunity we had the win at Rose where we said maybe they might stumble a little bit. They blew out Rose. We had they had the trip to New Bern where we said maybe it might be a close game. That one was, and then ultimately it wound up being a blowout at the end. We talked about last week the potential of a trap looking ahead to this game. They went to Aycock and scored 76 points.
Yeah,
and it's like every time that they've had an opportunity to kind of stumble this year, they have done the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So I have no reason to believe that this week is going to be any different. And I think this is going to be a close game. They're going to be right there. But I just can't.
You were leaning. I thought you were going to go for the Falcons.
And I would not be shocked at all. But I really don't see. I don't know if they're able to slow down Conley's offense because of how big they are.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really, really surprised and really impressed. And I think Conley's offense is just too big, too strong, too good. And I think they're able to outscore South Central. Andy, too, joked with me Monday night about the possibility of it being 7-0 or 3-0. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
But I do think that Conley, at the end of the night, I do think that they are able to score enough points to outlast the Falcons and win the conference.
Okay. Yeah, I think both teams get double digits. I'm pretty sure.
I'm gonna take the over on 20.
A few things to hit on. Obviously, we're going a little long on this game, but hey,
it's the biggest game
if you're watching this, then you're watching it and interested in it. But you touch on South Central. The big plays, it's not like they throw the ball 50 yards.
Mm-hmm.
It's the screen passes, or they get it to Emmanuel Lewis, or run like a little draw or something for the running back, Smith, and it turns into a 60-yard play.
Right.
So I think that, to me, is maybe the biggest factor in the game. I think if you hold South Central to 2 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, and it doesn't turn into the 70, I'm with you. I think Conley is just better conventionally, but if South Central can hit those big plays out of nowhere and get those points, that's a huge, crossover
that's a big,
or whatever.
Big swing,
exactly. Yeah. Can negate what Conley can maybe do more methodically with time of possession and whatnot. That said, I'm going to take the Vikings as well. I'm with you. I think it could go either way. It could be really close. I like that Ehlers is a senior. Not going to lie, he's a senior quarterback. As I always say in games like this, you win or you die with your fastball. They have the best fastball.
Right.
He's a senior. He's a quarterback. Might be the best player in the state. They've been here before. Nate Connor's been in these big games, probably more than Andy too, a little bit. I just like that situation. And I'm going to take Conley, and I've told you this before, because of Ehlers' legs, you were kind of touching on that. I don't think Conley's going to come out and throw it 30, 40 times. Again, I saw it with Cornell Powell and Rose in big games years ago. I think we see a lot of the quarterback powers, the quarterback option, and he says, all right, Holton, go run us to victory. Hit C.J. Johnson when you need to, but take it to them physically and see how they can respond, because you have a size advantage. You're the only dude on the field that's 6'5", or whatever he is, 6'3", 240, whatever his measures are. So
big.
Yeah. Best fastball. Yeah, I'm taking Ehlers and the Vikings. Pretty simple.
That's definitely a point. And the interesting thing that you pointed out there that I actually had not thought about is you look at the way that Conley's defense has played, how well they've played, and I go back to the game against CB Aycock. They only gave up one touchdown, but it was an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Against Rose, the first touchdown, one of only 2 touchdowns they gave up that night was 70 or 80 yards. They've been really good at stopping people, but then they are susceptible every once in a while to giving up a big play. And if there's an offense that's going to burn you for that, it's the one that's practicing right over there as we're talking right now. So
that's what they do.
Yeah. So that one's going to be fun. Like I said, I am totally prepared for a ton of points, and should be fun. Hopefully, deadline won't be an issue Friday night, but but that'll be good. Looking forward to that, and I feel like it's one of the more important games. I've been here. This is my 3rd football season, and the playoff game between Rose and Conley a couple years ago is the only thing I can think of that compares to this in terms of the atmosphere and the buzz around it. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to a great game between Farmville Central and North Pitt. We'll have that game staffed as well. We'll have something on Rose, New Bern, have Aiden Grifton and Green Central to wrap up the regular season. It'll be our last full Friday night of games, and then the playoffs start next week. We'll have a forecast looking ahead to whatever first round matchups we have, however many, 3 or 4 it probably will be. So you can check me out on Twitter Friday night at Reflector Jordan for updates. We'll have the gamers and the results on Reflector.com and Saturday's paper, physical paper, if you're of the mind that you want to go buy one of those.
Yeah,
So we'll have you covered for the end of the regular season. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week for the first week of the playoffs.